So let me share with you some of what I've gone through in downsizing, see if it helps you. I've downsized a couple times in my life, sometimes because I chose to and sometimes because I didn't. So one of the times that I was working on downsizing, I invited my son to come over, and I'm an only child and he's an only child. And I knew that he was going to have to deal with my estate and I was going to have to deal with my dad's estate. And my dad has a whole lot more stuff than I do. So I got things out of the attic and the basement. I had toys that I'd had as a child and I had taken excellent care of them. And I had toys that he had as a child and some of his schoolwork and artwork and different things like that. And we went through all of it. And he had moved out some years in the past, and I just wanted to make it easier later on. So I was a little bit surprised because he only wanted just a teeny tiny amount of stuff. I mean, like a handful. And he says, I don't care what you do with the rest. So it was my goal not to have to give him something else to deal with when I was gone. So I donated some. Some of it I sold because there were some vintage toys and things. And I was able to clear that out, not have anything to worry about, and not have to worry about him dealing with it later. Now, there's certainly going to be a lot of other things for him to deal with, but that's been a goal of mine. So whatever you do, you need to have your own goal. Are you downsizing because you're moving into a smaller home and you can't fit everything? Are you downsizing because nobody wants to inherit things? One of the problems we have today is that historically we have inherited things from grandparents to parents and such. And as I understand it, I'm at the end of the baby boomer phase. We're the last of folks that want anything. Anybody below us, all these other generations, they don't want any of these wonderful dining room sets or dish sets or whatever. They'd rather go get something inexpensive that in a few years when they're tired of it, they can get rid of it and get something else they like. They don't want to have to keep up with, oh, well, this was grandmother's dining room set. So at some point, I'm not willing to give up my grandmother's dishes, and I'll have to decide at a point when I want to do something with that. You know, we don't have family dinners anymore like we used to. So I'm just not willing to give those up yet, and that's okay if you have something you're not willing to give up, but you need to be able to come to terms on your own, and that's the most important thing. Make sure when you're downsizing, you're not doing it because of influence of somebody else. You can ask family members first, but I encourage you not to have family members sit with you and go through things, or even good friends, because they may not be honest and they may give you undue grief. They'll say, oh, you should just get rid of all that. Or else they'll say, you can't get rid of that. So downsizing is different for everybody, and everybody has to come to terms in their own right. I have historically had things that I've really cherished and kept, and I've had to really have some rough talks with myself and let some things go. One day, my son was over, and he commented on this kind of cheap little steak knife set that we'd gotten somewhere when he was little, and it hung on the wall. I honestly didn't use it. It just hung there because it had always hung there. It was in a little wooden box, and he said, I just love that steak knife set. So I took it off the wall and I handed it to him right then and there. I said, you know what? Doesn't do me any good. If you really love it, here you go. He had wanted an antique prop that had been my dad's that was restored. And I really didn't want to let it go, but I said, well, I tell you what, when you buy your first house, then I will give it to you. Until then, I'm going to enjoy it. So it was several years before he and his wife bought a house, and he surely asked for it. And I didn't really want to let it go, but I did. I kept my promise. And anytime I visited, I always got to see it, and I could see how much he enjoyed it. He put it up almost immediately, hung it up in his family room. So I can see it, I can enjoy it, and I know that he has a love for it because he has a love for aviation like his grandfather did. So think about that. Think about what you are willing to give now, and if you're not willing to give it now and it's going to be after you've passed, then at least write the name on the bottom or write it on a list, something so that somebody knows that it should go to that person. But if you can give somebody something now or in the future before you pass, that certainly might be enjoyable and might be less out of your life.